morning, everyone. Lovely to be with you on this beautiful day. I wanted to just bring something from another familiar story in the Gospels. This is the story of the death of Lazarus in John chapter 11. And I don't think I'm going to have time in 10 minutes to read the whole thing because it's quite long, but I think we know it. But if you don't, then I suggest you pause this and then go and read it. Carol yesterday was talking about us being friends of Jesus, and for Martha and Mary and their brother Lazarus, they were friends of Jesus. They knew what it was to actually spend time with him and be friends with him. And they lived in this place called Bethany, and Lazarus sadly had got gravely ill, and Jesus heard about it. And it says it's very strange what Jesus says in verse 5. It says, "Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was." And you think, no, hang on, if he loves them, why would he not just rush straight there and bring healing? Because he loves them, they're his friends. Wouldn't he go straight to them? They're in trouble. But it says, no, he loved them, so he stayed 2 days longer where he was. And the point was that Jesus, when he heard about the fact that Lazarus was so ill, it says this in verse 4, when Jesus heard it, he said, "This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." And so Jesus knew there was something much greater going to happen here than a healing of a friend. And so out of love for them, he delayed coming. And I think the greatest thing that we can know is to know Jesus. And Jesus reveals himself to us through the scriptures. Jesus wants us to know him. He wants us to have a personal relationship with him. He wants us to know God. This is the most important thing in life. If he just rushed off immediately and healed Lazarus, we wouldn't have these words in the Bible, because it would have been another healing. But something much greater was going to happen here. And so Jesus wants to reveal his glory. He wants to reveal the glory of God through various different ways. And this was one of the ways he was going to reveal his glory. So I think we mustn't look at circumstances and think, well, the circumstance is bad and therefore, I can't see the glory of God in it. No, Jesus will reveal the glory of God in every circumstance. He knows what he's doing. So what we then see as Jesus goes, having delayed, he then got to the place. He got to Bethany. In fact, he got just outside of Bethany. He didn't go right into Bethany at the time. And he heard then that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. So Lazarus had died of this illness and was already in the tomb for 4 days. And Martha runs out to meet him. Now, this is the Martha. Do you remember Emily told us so beautifully the story of Mary and Martha? And Martha was the one who was so busying around that Mary was there sitting at Jesus' feet, just wanted to spend time with Jesus. And Martha had been the busy one. But here she is. She rushes out to see Jesus. And she says to him, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died." And she knew that Jesus could have done something, but he didn't. And it's almost kind of questioning his motives a little. But Jesus says to her, "Your brother will rise again." And she said, "Yes, I know he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." And Jesus says to her these profound words. And this has happened so that not only Martha could hear these profound words, but we've got these profound words. Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world." So here's her glorious proclamation. I love it when we sing that Apostles' Creed. I believe in God Almighty, and I believe in Jesus Christ, his Son. It's just a glorious proclamation of what we believe in. And here is Jesus saying, "I am the resurrection and the life. And then Martha went off and called Mary. Mary came to Jesus and asked the same question, really. Lord, if you'd been here, this wouldn't have happened. My brother wouldn't have died. And Jesus sees her. She's weeping. I mean, obviously, deep grief. They've lost a dearly loved brother. And there's lots of Jews around as well. So many Jews had come to the village, and they're all there. They're weeping. They're mourning for Lazarus. And it says in verse 33, Jesus was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" And they said, "Lord, come and see." And it says, Jesus wept. And I've done a little bit of research into this, and there's lots of different theories as to why Jesus wept. That's the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. Why did Jesus weep? Was it for grief for his friend? Was it sort of feeling the emotions that the others around him, Martha and Mary and the Jews, were feeling? I wonder, John Piper, interestingly, he thinks it's that these people couldn't see that Jesus loved them. They thought he'd let them down. They couldn't see the love that he had for them. At this moment, they're thinking, he should have been here and he wasn't. And maybe he's weeping over the fact they just can't get it at the moment, how much he loves them. And I wonder as well, here's the Jews weeping, and Jesus then moved to tears. And I wonder, he cried once before, didn't he, as he entered Jerusalem. He said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I would have gathered you." And these Jews, he knows these Jews are going to turn on him. They're going to be crying for his crucifixion. They're going to be shouting for his crucifixion. And I guess, these are his own people. I think he's weeping for them as well. He's weeping. They just don't get it. They don't get what Martha has just proclaimed. You are the Christ, the Son of God. They don't get it. They don't see how much he loves them. They're not feeling this. And he knows within days they're going to turn on him. So I guess that's included in the tears of Jesus. The Jews thought it was because he loved Lazarus. I'm not so sure. Jesus knows what he's about to do. Why would he cry for Lazarus? Lazarus is about to be restored to him. And then it says, then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. And listen to this. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Where else do we see a cave with a stone laid against it? I wonder if Jesus knows. In order for those words that he's just proclaimed, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. In order for that to really be true, he's got to go to the cross. He's got to be put to death. He's got to be put in a tomb and have a stone rolled across the mouth of that cave. And I wonder if he just looked at that cave there with the stone against it and thought, this is going to be me. I'm going to have to go here for these people who I love so much. But I'm going to do it because I'm the resurrection and the life. And I'm going to give life to them. So it just stirred me as I read it. And Jesus says, take away the stone. And Martha is horrified. She's saying, Lord, he's been dead 4 days. There'll be an odour. And Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? And they took away the stone. And Jesus, lifting up his eyes, says, Father, I thank you, you've always heard me. And then he cries out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And the man who had died, Lazarus, came out of the tomb. He's alive again. And this is just a beautiful picture. This amazing, powerful action. We've heard, haven't we heard at our conversion, we almost heard Jesus call us out of our spiritual death into life. And we're going to hear it again. We're going to hear again, that moment when we fall asleep in death, we're going to hear Jesus call our name again. Come out. I'm the resurrection and the life. He's bought life eternal for us. What a glorious Saviour. Anne Tucker fell asleep on Saturday and has woken up to hear Jesus calling her out. Oh, how amazing. Well, hallelujah, what a saviour. Next time we sing that creed, let's remember he's the resurrection and the life. Amen.